Hi, and welcome to the Leadership Development Armory. Today we'll be hearing from Anthony Gott about Canva 101. I hope you enjoy it. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome back to the Leadership Development Armory. My name is Summer Bussey, and I am the Territorial Christian Education Director for the Western Territorial Youth Department. This is back. The Armory is back, and this is our 6th season, which is kind of crazy that we've done it for so long. But it's thanks to you guys for jumping on for this time and coming and being willing to continue developing and learning and growing in different skills. So for this season of the Armory, we've already learned about group games, but we are going to continue with different sessions on Canva basics, doing ministry as a family, mentoring, adaptive youth ministry, and teen discipleship. As a reminder, our overall objective for the Armory is to create a space for diligent learning in order to develop and equip youth leaders, corps officers, and volunteers. But we want this to just be a safe space to learn new things, ask questions, and make connections with fellow leaders in the Salvation Army. Today's presentation is titled Canva 101, and it is led by Anthony Gott. Anthony is a 4th-generation Salvationist from Sydney, Australia. He graduated from Western Sydney University with a bachelor's in communication and majored in media arts production. He worked as a camp counselor in 2014 and met his now wife. Anthony then moved to the U.S. and got married in 2021, and he works now at the divisional headquarters for the Northwest Division in program and development as the administrative events and media coordinator. He has 2 kids, Briar and Banksia, and loves design, the outdoors, running, and swimming at the beach, even if it's really far from Puyallup, Washington. So we're really excited to see all that he has to share. Tice is going to open us up in prayer, and then Anthony's going to get going.
Let's pray. God, thank you so much for the opportunity to come together from across the territory, to be able to learn how to better show your love to the people around us, whether it's um, through direct contact or through games or even from what we're doing from behind a computer screen. Lord, help us to remember that it's all for your glory and it's all to praise your name. Help us to have that mindset as we go into this meeting today. In your name we pray.
Alrighty, let me just share my screen to start. Sweet. Great. Okay. Welcome to Canva 101. My name is Anthony. I wrote a whole spiel, a little bit about me, but Summer did a great job kind of covering that. I am from Australia, so sorry if my accent or I talk too quick. It happens sometimes. I just get excited about graphic design. So yeah, I had a joke there and it's not going to land now, and that's okay. About Australia being, full of kangaroos, crocodiles, and spiders, but that's all good. All right. Yes, I worked in marketing and majored in media arts production. I worked after I graduated, I worked in marketing and social media for 5 years, creating social content, advertising, brochures, banners, videos for a company full time. So I like to think I know what I'm talking about, but I also am learning a lot all the time. These programs and things are updating all the time, and there's new things. Look at all of the AI stuff we've kind of had to adapt to. It's shifting and building and growing super quickly. So hopefully I can help cover some of the main things and help to give you a better idea of how you best can use Canva as a tool. Before Canva, most people had 2 options for graphic design, I would say. Either outsource your graphic design needs to an expensive graphic designer, or struggle to learn and use complicated design programs. I am in the second camp of always trying to keep up with something complicated or trying to create new designs. Canva kind of flips all that on its head, and anyone can be a creator and anyone can be a graphic designer. What makes Canva so great is that Canva makes graphic design accessible. It's simple to get started and have something created really, really quickly. You don't have to pay a crazy amount. It is super helpful to pay for the pro version. You get access to a lot more tools. So if you don't have a nonprofit account, you know, and you are making a lot of things, it's worth paying for the pro version. But you don't have to pay a crazy amount as much as other graphic designs tools. And you don't need months and months to learn where to kind of get started. The second thing about Canva that's great is templates and elements. You can type just about anything into the search bar for templates, and something will come up as a good starting point. You can search by colors, you can search by style, you can search by pretty much anything, and something will come up that kind of fits. If you're looking for a Christmas program invitation, you can type in Christmas invitation, and you've got about 1,000 different options that might fit the vibe that you're going for, at least. Also, along with the templates are the elements, things that I would have to look through a ton of websites to find something that was commercially available and free, because I didn't want to have to pay for every little element, or spend hours looking for the right kind of icon that fits the design and vibe. It's really easy to just search for it, or alternatively use AI to make something in Canva as well. So Canva makes it really easy to start creating. And my hope that after this session, you can open your computer and feel confident creating content like a flyer, a poster, social media posts, booklets, Sunday service, like presentations with Canva, and feel confident to get started. However, I want to step back a little bit and share some design principles that can help to guide your designs before you dive into the specifics of Canva. I think the templates make it really, really easy to get started, but with some design principle ideas, it can make it a little bit easier to kind of know where to cut things or where to add things, or how to kind of craft your graphic designs as a whole. So there's 10 kind of principles. They all link and interweave. I'm going to give a kind of really rough overview, bird's eye view of each of them, give a couple of examples of how these are used in the real world, and you won't be able to stop seeing them everywhere you go now. So sorry about that. We're going to start off with balance. Balance is pretty much the visual weight of elements within a design to create a sense of evenness. It's really easy for it to start to feel off balance if you put a really heavy thing in one corner and something smaller. So it's just kind of balancing with different elements. Large, complex elements, dark elements feel really, really heavy. Small, lighter colored, simple elements feel lighter. And it's all about, how you feel when you look at the picture. So if it feels kind of off kilter, it could be the elements are kind of off balanced. Balance helps a design feel stable and organized, and it can be symmetrical, or it doesn't even have to be symmetrical. For example, the Apple logo is asymmetrical, but they used the leaf. It kind of fits perfectly as the bite in the apple, and that balances the whole apple. It could be just one big solid apple, but with the leaf, it might feel off balance. So the bite and the chunk out of it helps to balance that asymmetry there. The Toyota logo, it's pretty balanced. It's pretty even on all sides. It's pretty symmetrical. But again, still feels balanced. And they've kind of shifted the weight of some of those circle elements to help it not feel as bold and in your face. Just a super quick example. Contrast is using opposing elements to create visual distinction or interest. This can be applied to any aspect of design. It could be color, it could be type, it could be size, creating a little bit of difference and visual distinction to draw you in and help kind of something stand out. Apart from typography, color is probably the most indispensable and influential variable in graphic design. Color influences a large range of emotion and interpretation. So making your selection in color can be super, super crucial. Backtrack. I made slides and notes, and I This is a really good example of some contrast in type. The complex type of the New York Times title can feel a little overwhelming. So they've kind of paired it on their website with a sans serif font. It's a font without little feet. Sans means without, serif is the little feet. Anyway, it's just they've balanced the two different styles of fonts to be able to create some distinction and make it easier to digest. Jumping back, again, contrast, black and white images are really good examples of contrast. Just creates some visual distinction and draws your eye in on the bigger items. Color, one of the most indispensable, influential variables, I said. My suggestion, we can dive really deep into color and the color wheel. This is kind of a rough example of 12 different colors. And that variable goes, infinitely when you go darker and lighter and shades and hues and saturation. So my suggestion to keep it really, really simple is to pick 2 or 3 colors on, opposing lines. The nice thing about contrast is you can look at the color wheel and just pick 2 opposing colors, and that can be your kind of key colors there. Make a triangle, pick 3 different colors to kind of use. These all sit within color theory as well. Those colors could be, 3 together, and how you balance those is again going to help you define your artwork. Pick 3 colors, keep it really simple, and then to balance those colors, manage them on some kind of well, most people talk about this 60-30-10 rule. Use 60% as your background, a large color as your main kind of bulk things, 30% as your text color. That could be white, that could be black. It could be, a shade, and then 10% is your accent color. The thing on a website, really good example is they use an accent color for buttons, the call to action items, or 10% could be to highlight a keyword that you want to kind of pop out. So color can get really complicated. Try to keep it simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. If you need help picking colors or the color wheel, there's a Canva website that is really good. It talks about the color kind of theories and talks about the color wheel. You can pick a color on the color wheel, and it's going to tell you exactly which colors match and the hex codes, those numbers that you need for the color to put them in Canva. It tells you those really, really easily, and it's a great tool. So if you get stuck on color, you're like, oh, I don't like the colors in this template. You need to kind of bounce somewhere else. Check out the color wheel, play around, find a color you like, and then you can help you define some other options there. Always easy to throw in black and white as well. If the background's dark, make it white text. If the background is light, make it white text, a black text, sorry. But again, contrast really leans into color as well. The next design principle, emphasis. It's creating a focal point, creating an element in your design that draws you in and immediately draws the viewer's or audience's eye. It shows the audience what's the most important at first glance. So usually if it's the theme of an event, I like to make that the biggest thing, because that is the thing that we want people to take away or kind of look at first. And then I balance the rest of the information based on making sure that that is the emphasis. An example, the Jaws poster, movie poster. The shark is the biggest kind of element, and the contrast of the red text, those 2 elements draw you straight in, and you meet in the middle, and there's a person who's about to get eaten. But that Jaws logo is a really good example of emphasis and creating distinction with the biggest item. Kind of leading itself in a similar direction is hierarchy, how you arrange your design elements in order of importance. It guides the viewer's eye through a composition, ensures that they see the most critical information first, and can easily navigate the rest of the content. For event posters, the date and location are going to be more important than the registration close date and contact info. It's all important. It all deserves a place on the poster, but you want to kind of define your size of your text. It could be with bold text. in a way that kind of makes you lead in this hierarchy. It doesn't have to be in order, but if you read like this text is really out of order, but the really, really small text is the last thing that you look at, unless I'm pointing it out to you. But, looking over this design, you go straight to that bold, big text in the front, kind of skip around the page depending on how big the text is. So a really easy way to think about hierarchy and how you lay out your poster and information. I know I'm skipping over these probably really quickly. We will have time for questions at the end. So if you do have a question, you don't want to forget something, make sure you throw it in the chat so we can come back to it. The next principle is scale and proportion. Scale is just the size of an object on the design in relation to other pieces of the design, and proportion is the relationship between objects or a single object, how big that is in relation to the smaller elements. By manipulating these two concepts, you can create a sense of harmony and establish, again, a clear focal point that guides the viewer's eye. So play around with the size of objects. Maybe repetition is a little bit later, but maybe you're repeating an object and maybe changing the scale of that helps to draw the viewer's eye through your design. Car ads are really good examples of using proportion. They shoot the photos in a way that make the car look larger than life, bigger, faster, kind of feel like it's going faster. This one here is a good example of the scale of the two items are kind of shifted off, and it helps give that sense of movement through the composition. You'll find all of these principles kind of interact and play off each other, and they're just good frameworks for looking at a design and helping you arrange information. Alignment is arranging a design elements so their edges line up along a straight edge. Simply, this could be centering elements in the middle of your design, like I did with this right here. And I'll show you some tricks to make sure that that's centered in Canva a little bit. But there is a Swiss design philosophy called grid systems that uses a grid of to order the information on the page for typography, photos, information, and that can be in any space. Some galleries use the grid system philosophy, and it's an expression to systemize, clarify, concentrate, or rationalize the creative. And in less academic words, the grid makes it easier to give a surface or page organization. The best examples of alignment are newspapers. And you'll see straight away all of these elements that we're already talking about in the picture here. The title of the newspaper is going to be the biggest at the top. Headlines are bolder and stand out a little bit more. But this particular image shows really good examples of the grid system. The whole page is kind of divided into those 4 columns, and then everything fits in the columns and aligned in the system. But items can be bigger. They can take up 2 columns. Items can spread across to kind of highlight, but everything kind of fits within that grid. Again, just another helpful way to think about how you're aligning things. Another great example is your phone. The image is going to come up. There it is. Everything on your home screen is aligned in a grid, and you can move those apps around in the grid, but they're going to stick to the grid system. It just helps it to feel more organized and give it some kind of clarify, systemize system. Repetition is consistent use of the same or similar design elements throughout a piece of design. This can be applied in a few different areas. If you're building social content, you could repeat the same colors throughout your feed, or highlight graphic elements in the same colors to help build consistency and help people quickly identify, oh, this image on my feed is coming from this particular core or this particular youth group. And you could see that in the Say Network stuff. Everything's using that like light blue and the red. Or that could be the same header font. You're using the same thing across your different designs, so your audience starts to recognize. Or all your posters or promotional content for troops programs could use a green hexagon pattern that is easily identified as, oh, this information in this flyer is for troops. Like, oh, I want to go straight to that information. Some good examples. I have a little game. Feel free to throw in the chat if you can name the company. Based on the font, they use this font all the time. It should be fairly easy to identify. Bingo, Say Network, Tyler. Yes, you guys got it. Disney. Okay, next one. This one is a little bit trickier. There are, they use these two colors throughout most of their branding. Hey, Megan, you got it first. That is Macca's. Well done. Australia, we call it Macca's. I had to throw it in. That it is on the signs even. So just a fun fact there. This green one's a little trickier, and I have the tagline, if you can't get it straight from the green. Oh, Starbucks is a good guess. Starbucks is green. Hulu is a little bit lighter green. Subway. Yes, there we go. Nice work. Okay. I thought that would be fun. Anyway, the repeated use of these colors, these taglines, these fonts help to define the company, and it makes it really easy to identify. Next design principle, we're getting there, is negative space. This is the empty area surrounding and between elements in a design. Rather than being wasted space, it's a crucial design component that allows your composition to breathe. I really liked this quote. It said, cluttered design can be highly distracting and confusing for a viewer. Just as it's hard to find an object in a cluttered room, in a cluttered design, it's hard to find the information you're looking for. So give it some breathing room, give it some space. A really good example here. These couple of logos use negative space to their advantage. In the FedEx logo, it's about delivering things, taking things forward. So they have a little hidden arrow in their logo. Or you can use negative space to highlight something like the Coke bottle here. It's a really recognizable shape. They have trademarked the shape even. So, you could take the Coca-Cola away and instantly you know from the red and the shape of the bottle what the brand is. So that's a really clever use of negative space. It doesn't feel cluttered. It gives it a little bit more breathing space. A more real life example that we would probably be creating with is just leading space in your text. The example on the left side has a lot more space. It's really easy to read and digest as opposed to the one on the left. You kind of got to like focus in a little bit more to read it. Books do the same thing. They give it a little bit more space in between the text in each page so that the whole page of text doesn't feel overwhelming to read and digest. Movement is the way a designer guides the viewer's eye through a composition. It's the path that your eye follows when you're scanning the design. In a still image, a sense of motion can be created using lines or blur, shapes and patterns that suggest direction and speed. You can see in my little my little design elements here that I've added for each one. I used a kind of a blend technique that creates this sense of movement, and the gradient is kind of helping to create that sense of movement as well. Car posters, again, do this really well. It helps. The car is actually moving a lot of the time when they're taking the photo and they're chasing the car, but you can see through that like blurred background, they're creating some sweeping lines that really give you that sense of movement. The Rocky poster, you automatically know like that he's climbing the stairs there just based on the way that they've kind of drawn your eyes in on that triangle shape. Just a couple of examples. So next one, last one, unity and harmony. It's just the combination of all these other principles working together. These are really good starting points so that you can highlight elements of your design, But also you can create this still sense of unity by breaking some of these principles. Taking something out of alignment can help create greater emphasis, or you can add an accent color that doesn't align with your kind of color scheme to create like an extra sense of pop. But the final kind of point with Unity as well, less is more. Simplicity often leads itself to more refined design. Make something, throw all your ideas onto a piece of paper, step back, and then ask yourself, do each of these elements belong? If not, jump back in, adjust, and then take a step back. Ask someone else to have a look. Ask them, does this make sense? Do you understand the information? And when the answer is no, you just jump back in and adjust. But it doesn't need to be complicated to be graphic design. I tried to keep the presentation really simple so that the points were really easy to digest. And hopefully that simplicity helps to understand the concepts. Now we can jump into some Canva specific tips. I'm going to jump out as well and show you how to do some of these things in a second. But my recommendation, it's really easy to jump in and look for a template and just start with the template. I would recommend starting with your document size. When you are starting to create something, making a new document, select the size, and then you can look at the templates. It's easier to fit the template into the size than the size of the template into the template that is already set into a size. You have to shift elements sometimes. You have to rebalance things as you resize. And that's okay. Sometimes that's easier than starting from fresh, but start your document as the document size that you're planning to print or create. For presentations, that's usually 1920 pixels by 1080 pixels. That's a standard HD screen. Most PowerPoints and presentations are using that size format. Letter documents are 8.5 inches by 11. Booklets, 5.5 by 11 if you're just printing onto a standard letter and folding it in half. Larger posters are about 11 by 17. Just some quick kind of stats there, so it's easy to start somewhere. Next slide. These are some things that lots of people have mentioned to me that were super, super helpful to know and learn. So let's jump into Canva. This is my presentation in Canva. Welcome, everybody. You can see a preview of the next few slides. Align to page. Text is really easy to move around the page. 100 different lines come up. It's trying to align and clip to everything in the page. With a right click, you can just align it to the page and center. Super simple, which is nice. I can also select a text, both texts, and then I can align the elements to each other. I probably want these aligned left, and then we can just move it back, and then it clips to the edge of the other ones there. That's aligning to page. Copying style is really nice. Sometimes you don't want to copy the whole paste, retype it, copy paste, retype the whole thing. You can just, let's copy the style of the header here, copy style, and then I can paste it straight on. It's going to match the size, the bold, and the font type. So that's really easy to just copy a style, paste it somewhere else. When I've been adding text boxes into the document, I can go back to other slides, copy the style, and then bring it back and make sure all of the title and subtitles kind of match there. Rulers and bleed are really fun as well. Shift R. Oh, totally changed my document. That's okay. Rulers and bleed. Rulers are really nice to create guides. I can bring a guide here down that is not an actual piece of my presentation and mark it at halfway. Makes it a little bit easier to align things. I could bring this ruler over, make it where I'm going to align all my text, and then I can snap all of my text to the line really, really easily. Rulers make it a little bit easier to align things and stick within a grid. If you really want to go deep and build your whole grid with the rulers, you can do that. And then you can just pull them aside and they disappear as well. For print material, if you're creating something that goes right to the edge of the paper, standard Xerox printers that most of us have in our core don't print right to the edge. And most print companies will work like this as well. They'll print on a larger piece of paper, and then you just want to make the document say that the color is going over the edge. It's not going right to the edge of the document. It's going over the edge a little bit. That gives you a bit of buffer. So when they cut it, you're not going to be stuck. Everything kind of shifts a little bit when you print, but it's not going to cut with a white edge or anything like that. So as you cut it down to be the right size, for letter size pieces of paper, I order larger paper and then cut it down. And that's how I get kind of the edge look. But using a bleed is how you would add that. You can come here to settings and show your print bleed. It's not a print document, but if it was, it adds an extra line around your document. I can create a new design that would be, let's say I just want to make a poster that is going to be landscape poster. So then when I go settings, show print bleed, you'll see it's got this extra kind of margin and goes over the margin there. So when I add a color, let's go army red. Then when I export the document, I can export it to say that it's got that extra bleed and send it off to a printer. Back to the presentation. Next one. This one is a super cool tool. I got my little preset image here. Bring to front. There's this really handy button and it uses AI, but I can just hit background remove. Takes about 2 seconds. And the background's gone. It's a really easy way to pull a subject out. Some images, it's a little bit trickier in telling what the background is and what's not. For that case, you can also use the magic eraser to erase elements and it will fill it or just remove it, depending on what you want it to do. But that's a really easy way to pop out a subject and place it on a background. It helps to create less clutter by having less of a photo. So that background remove tool, super handy. It used to take hours in Photoshop, kind of drawing the line around where you wanted to cut it. And now it takes less than 10 seconds and it's phenomenal. Next tip, public view links. So within Canva, you can share your document with a public view link. This is really handy for youth calendars, program calendars, flyers that you want to share digitally. You can create a public view link. If you come to share, click public view link, and then you can generate your link. It will show up pretty much exactly how this window is showing it here. They can flick through for slides, for instance, they could flick through all of the slides. It's a great way to share and track how many people have viewed the link. But even better than that, as you update your presentation, it's going to update the public view link without changing the link. So if your calendar dates slightly change, you can update it and change the dates, and people can always go back and see those links, those live links. You can create multiple links if you have different audiences that you're seeing the same content, but you want to kind of track how many people are clicking on each link. But that is a little bit more in-depth marketing specifics. Really easy to just copy this link, send it to somebody, and they can see it. They can't edit it, they can't change anything, but they can see the link and it's updated live as you change things as well. So super handy for sharing digital files, digital links as well. Canva is fantastic for working with teams. If you have a couple of people, you've got a youth worker and a core officer at your place, both working in a document or both wanting to work on things, Canva's collaboration tools are really, really powerful. You can both be editing a document at the same time. You can see who is editing what at the same time live, which is really cool. That would be, again, under the share link, and you can add the people's email and who is access. You can say it's only specific people. You can say it's anyone with the link. But yeah, that's how you would collaborate and are able to work collectively. Just make sure your settings are set to edit and or you can have view only settings and edit settings. So just check that as you're sharing it. There's two share things there and they're slightly different. So just wanted to make sure I highlighted those. You can also print with Canva, which is really handy. Printing with Canva is pretty much similar to printing with Vistaprint, except your design is natively in Canva. So it's really, really easy to send it off to Canva. The speed is pretty good from what I've seen and what I've used before. But if you're outsourcing print jobs, have a look at print with Canva. If you're creating things in Canva a lot and printing, it's helpful there. Canva apps. This is where Canva gets a little more in depth. This sidebar here is kind of where you'll find all of your tools. If you're starting with a blank template, the templates tab is where you can search for templates. Elements is where you're going to find photos, graphics, videos, smaller items that you can just click and they add into your presentation. Graphics, things that are labeled as graphics, you can typically change the color. Photos are just a number of stock photos. They work for a number of things. Videos, animations are really fun. They're things that move. This little robot guy. Text is kind of your hub for anything text. I've got like our brand formats listed in here. So if I'm making things as the Salvation Army, can really easily know our brand fonts for titles and body text. This brand tab is where you would go in more in depth with that. Uploads is any photos or content that you've uploaded yourself. You can see all of the photos that I found online to upload for the presentation. Tools, this is for like marking things up, adding things quickly. I don't use this one a lot. I would just go to the Elements tab, but that can be helpful in other situations. Projects, you can link other projects into other projects, which is confusing, but handy if you're making a presentation and someone else has sent you a presentation, you want to add their slides into a master slide deck. Happens a lot more than you think. I can go in and add specific slides from this particular presentation, or I can embed it, and that's pretty handy. This is where we come to apps. Canva apps are additional applications that people have made to do specific things in Canva. So there's a little more, there's Canva apps for creating gradients and color gradients. The inbuilt tools in Canva are pretty good to a point, and then you can use these for presentations. It's suggesting things to me like YouTube embed. There's a GIF one to add these little, video pop culture GIFs. There's QR code generators, which are really great for making QR codes and changing the colors of those. Gradients. There's a ton of AI tools I think there's one for just AI build my presentation. AI slide maker. So you could give it a summary and build your whole slide deck with AI. And that can be quick. I would go through anything that you create with AI and just make sure that you're checking the copy, checking that the content is correct before going live or publishing anything. But it can be a handy starting point if you're not finding templates. There's also a ton of things for helping you share, helping you preview, helping post, helping link directly to a Google Drive. The apps get really in depth, and I'm not going to go over a ton of them, but you can kind of find an app that might do something that you're trying to look for in this apps tab. There's a little line right here, and then under that you'll find some of the past apps that you've used as well. Easier to kind of go back in and then trying to find the app that you've previously used. Some handy shortcuts for general Canva presentations. Enter full screen. Thank you. If you want to add a text box, just hit T. It's super handy, and there's text on your page. Likewise with some shapes, rectangles, circles, lines, R, C, L. If you have an item selected and you're trying to figure out how to deselect it, you just hit escape and it'll deselect it, and you can go in and select the other ones. This one I actually learned today in creating the presentation. Shift R will show your rulers, so you can kind of go in and make some guides really easily. Same thing, Command or Control, Windows or Mac, dependent. Command is Mac, Control is Windows. Control V, Control C will copy paste. Kind of reducing a step there. If you just go Control D, it'll just duplicate whatever you have selected. And then undo Control Z. You can go back from anything that you have previously done. Take a screenshot, take a picture. These are super handy to come back to. There's a ton more shortcuts, and it kind of will also show you, as you right click, it'll show you some other things that you can do with shortcuts as you're going through the settings and stuff. Find and replace text, Command F. So shortcuts can just help make your workflow a little bit quicker. I didn't want to go too in-depth into the specifics of Canva, but that's kind of the end of what I have prepared, and I wanted to open it up for questions. So you had time to ask the specific questions that you have, and I can try and answer them. But hopefully this gives you a good rough overview of graphic design, what you can do with graphic design, what you can do with Canva specifically as a tool. I'm always happy to try and troubleshoot as well. So if you have any questions, throw them in the chat, yell them out, unmute. I love chatting, so would love to try and help you troubleshoot your designs. Do you remember? Oh, great question, Emmanuel. That I should have put that in the presentation. Emmanuel asked, do you have a recommended max number of fonts to use on one poster? I would say two. Don't go any more than two unless you are really, really, really trying to make emphasis with something fancy. I would do a title font and a body font. And you can play a little bit with the weight of the fonts, like bold and regular and italics, to kind of shift some of that as your body text. But try and keep your fonts to two and no more than two. Again, throughout the presentation, in the presentation I've created, I use two fonts. I use the Source Sans Pro and Glacial Indifference on every kind of slide. So same with a poster. The more fonts, the more complicated it gets. And the more cluttered it starts to feel. And that goes back to less is more. So recommendation is two, same with colors, 2 to 3. If you're trying to pick a color scheme, photos kind of play into that a little bit more, but yeah.
Anthony, can I just add one thing too about the color contrast, especially?
Yeah.
One thing that we don't think about a lot when it comes to design is accessibility when it comes to those with special needs. And especially when it comes to considering color blindness, making sure that we have enough contrast in the colors and like the typography so that it is accessible for those with special needs. And there's actually a website that I think that you can use to test out to see if your colors are contrasting enough for specifically people with color blindness. That's another reason why using those like opposites of the triangles work, because they're complementary and there's not often that crossover, right, of the color blindness as well.
Yeah. Easy way to kind of reduce that is just using opposite colors on the color wheel. Is there totally opposite and contrasting colors. And then again, you can play with the hue and the saturation of that and have one that's a darker blue and one that's a really, really light orange. It's less saturated and that can help to help to, kind of build a better accessible design as well. And definitely with any text, try to keep those contrasting colors as much as you can so that the text is legible, easy to read. It's really easy to throw a photo as the backdrop, but lots of photos have a lots of photos have like a gradient of color, and it's hard to put text over that. So then creating a block behind it that just contrasts helps that stand out a little bit more. Cute fun styles. I'm going to use more. Somebody asked if you have suggestions. Everyone can see the chat, but yeah, if you have how to use cute and fun styles and when to use more professional and boring styles. I wouldn't call it boring. It's just time and place, context. I don't really. Sorry. I would just look at your audience, look at who the target group of people is. If it's a professional setting, try and keep it professional looking. If it's a youth group, try and keep it fun, try and keep it cute. Yeah, it's hard to tell when to use what where. But it's starting with your target audience can help to define where your design is going and the style of the design. Is there a specific Dropbox for Army specific previously designed projects? Red Shield Toolkit, yeah, and Ty said that as well. So yeah, Red Shield Toolkit has all of the Army assets, all of the approved promotional content, photos. If you're looking for Army, somebody wearing an Army uniform, throw it into the check out Red Shield Toolkit. You can you log in with your Army login and you can search through a bunch of different content there. If I'm making Army specific graphics, I start there and I look for something that's already been made. Also check the guidelines for the brand guidelines. As a brand graphic design geek, I love reading through it. But just check the guidelines if you're looking for fonts, specific colors to use. All of the actual color code numbers are all listed in there. They're behind me on the wall. It's really small, but I post the Army colors on the wall so it's easy to find and I don't have to open a document. Yeah, if you're looking for Army specific content, there's a lot that's already created and makes for an easy starting point there.
And also just we have in our department Connor Truax, who is our media coordinator, media and graphics coordinator. So if you ever have any questions or anything that he can help you out with, that's a part of what his job is at THQ. So yeah, if you're like specifically if there's like something that you think would be really helpful territory wide that he could produce, I'm sure he'd be happy to do that as well.
Sweet. Any other questions?
I think my question would be, what are your top three, like, do not do this in design?
There's not a lot of like, don't do. I mean, try it. If again, step back, have a look at it. If it doesn't work, adjust accordingly. You know what will speak to if you're working in a core in your youth group or your church, hopefully you know what will speak to your audience and what they engage with most. Again, less is more. Try to keep it pared back and simple is usually a good starting point, and you can add elements from there that kind of enhance or yeah. There's not much I wouldn't say don't do. Steer away from colors that are the same color and trying to put pink text on red background or but I think we went through some of those through the principles, and if you let that kind of guide your designs, hopefully that you're avoiding most of the don'ts.
Any final questions? You can either type them in the chat or just, unmute, and I'm sure Anthony would be happy to answer those questions. Okay, well, with that, we will close up our, oops, sorry, is there somebody? We also have to get some of our designs approved by DHQ. Does
It
anybody?
happens.
Yeah, sometimes that's how it goes.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's a bad thing. I would say some of that helps to drive your design too. Getting an extra pair of eyes is always helpful, I find. I show 3 or 4 people before I publish anything, just to cross my T's and dot my I's. I also
Okay.
spell things wrong a lot of the time, being Australian.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
well, in the DHQs, their CRDs and others have been tasked with making sure we're keeping the brand standards because we didn't for a while. So it is an extra step and can be frustrating, but hopefully it's feedback that's helpful that helps us put out a better product.
Totally.
And it helps us to look unified, right, in the way that we do things because we are one army. And even though there's different expressions of that, we want to make sure that we're all kind of within that standard as well.
Totally. Totally.
Okay, well, as long as there's no other questions, we will close it out. We just want to say thank you so much, Anthony, for taking the time to share with us. This was really helpful, and I hope that we all kind of go away with a better idea of how to design graphics and how to utilize Canva as such a helpful resource as you shared. So thank you so much for all that you had to share, and I hope that all of you guys have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you in 2 weeks when we talk about, what is it next week? We talk about doing ministry as a family. I'm really excited about this one. So that will be with Majors Randy and Johnette Mulch and their 2 daughters, and kind of talking about the unifying ministry of a family through officership. So we'd really love to have you guys jump on board and hear about that. But that'll be in 2 weeks. Until then, I hope you guys have a good next 2 weeks. Thanks, everybody. Bye.